SDN Communications, providing round-the-clock remote network monitoring for business network uptime. Learn more at sdncommunications.com.
Welcome to Dakota Midday from South Dakota Public Broadcasting. I'm Karl Gehrke. This year, SDPB is celebrating the people, places, and experiences that make our state unique in the Landscapes of South Dakota series. And today, as a part of that series, we're in a place that echoes with some of the most colorful people in South Dakota history, Deadwood. And we're in a place that's a treasure trove for researchers who want to dig into the history of this area, the Homestake Adams Research and Cultural Center. The discovery of gold in the Black Hills in 1874 brought a stampede of miners and prospectors and a slew of legendary characters whose names are still well known today: Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, Seth Bullock, and others. And coming up later this hour, we'll talk with Days of 76 Museum Exhibits Director Daryl Nelson about the fact and fiction of the town's legendary characters. And Deadwood History's Mary Kopko has the history of how Deadwood was transformed from a rough gold mining town into a tourist attraction. But first, among those who read newspaper articles about the Custer Expedition's discovery of gold in the Black Hills were Moses and Fred Manuel, who arrived in this area in late 1875. After a winter of prospecting, they found gold in an outcropping of rock 3 miles over the hill from Deadwood in what is now the town of Lee. The next year, mining mogul George Hurst bought the Manuel brothers' claim and established the Homestake Mining Company. It became the largest and deepest gold mine in North Dakota, North America, producing around 40 million ounces of gold before it closed in 2002. Joining us now for more details on the early history of the Homestake mine is Carolyn Weber. She's Assistant Director of Deadwood History. And Carolyn, thanks for joining us on Dakota Midday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I mentioned the Custer Expedition. Was the purpose of that to find gold?
No, the main goal of the expedition was to find a suitable location to build the fort. But of course, there were 1,100 men in the expedition: soldiers, photographers, scouts, cooks, geologists, and naturalists. So along the way, a few people stopped and tried their luck at finding gold. And they did find a small amount and reported it in their findings, but didn't mention it too much. However, many people made note of this small nugget of information and went with it.
So this was in the newspaper. So then that's how the word was spread then.
That's right. That's how it got out. That's how everybody discovered Deadwood.
And so the miners started coming to the Black Hills, but this was illegal.
That's right. The Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 protected the Black Hills for the Native Americans, and non-Native entry was outlawed. So people here were basically illegal aliens in the area at the time.
And how, in those early years, were the miners and the Native Americans that were here? Were there conflicts at that time?
Oh, sure, there were always conflicts. But the federal government, the Army, tried to do what they could to keep these miners out. But given the limited resources, personnel, the weather, and the logistics out here, they had a tough time with keeping them out. So they did what they could, but they always weren't that successful.
And who were these early miners and prospectors that came here?
Oh, they were from all over. They came from the eastern part of South Dakota. They came from the eastern part of the country. They came from other mining camps that had been in Colorado and Montana and California. You name it, they came here from all over the world, actually. There was a large Finnish population, Czech population, Croatian and Welsh population here that were miners.
And we're talking about the Homestake mine in particular here. I mentioned the Manuel brothers, Moses and Fred Manuel. Who were they?
They were a couple of Frenchmen who came here in search of gold, like everybody else. And they, along with Alex Eaton and Fred Harney, as you might remember from Harney Peak, they were the ones who found the discovery of the Homestake mine.
And how did they? Was this just a matter of seeing what a place where it looked like there might be gold and just digging and seeing what they could find? Is that how it worked? Was it a lot of luck, or were they kind of had an idea of what they were?
Well, I think they kind of had an idea because they weren't new to mining.
Yeah.
So they did have some idea of what to look for, and I'm sure they found just the right stream bed with just the right gravel in there. That was what the Homestake is today, or was, and is.
So what happened after the Manuel brothers and the other found this place?
Well, Congress passed an act in 1877 which violated the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868, which basically said you had to relinquish, the Sioux had to relinquish the Black Hills and 22 million acres of surrounding territory, which this just kind of threw open the doors to the Black Hills. So entry by non-natives was fast and furious after this. And this is when George Hearst enters the picture. He was a mining mogul from California, and he wanted to expand his operations to the Black Hills, and he had his sights on the Manuel brothers' claim. So he came here, through whatever means it took, he convinced them to sell the claim to him for $70,000. And then in November of 1877, the Homestake Mining Company was incorporated.
Now,